Hello everybody, my name is Marlo and welcome back once again to another episode of TekTopia. The sun is rising over Eriduene here and we are ready to get started with the episode today. But before we do, let me actually catch you up real quickly on what we did last time in case you missed it. Basically, we built these two buildings on top of this small mountain here, and we also winded this pathway on around leading up to it, which the villagers actually use. As you can see, look at them go, which is really awesome. So yeah, we built this small bakery and also a two-person home to go just beside it. Now, the bakers who are going to be living in there and working in here are still children currently, but I'm hoping now it's actually morning. They should have grown up. Maybe we can spot a couple if we just zoom in here. Yes, we can. There's one of them. So I'm guessing the other has as well, seeing as we spawned them in at the same time. So we'll go get the chef tokens in a little bit and actually hand them out. But before we do, let me swoop on down here and actually show you the terraforming we did last episode. We've placed in all of this sand here. Is that a wolf? It is a wolf, getting very wet. We placed in all of this sand here going around this small island, and those of you who mentioned anything about it said it looked pretty good and to keep going when it seemed right to do so. I don't really want to place it everywhere. I'm only going to do it where it seems like a nice spot for a beach. Like, for example, there's a load of rocky area around here, and I don't really want to place sand along there. I'm quite happy with how the rock looks. But maybe if we just do it on an odd section here or there, maybe right here would make for a nice beach, for example. But yeah, that's what we did last episode. Today, we're going to be doing some more terraforming, sort of. I would say it counts as terraforming what we're doing. Maybe landscaping is the correct word. I'm not really sure. We're going to be building some waterfalls, which is something I wanted to do from the very get-go of this village here. I wanted to have loads of massive waterfalls in various locations around the village here, and that's what we're hoping to do today, get all of them built. So before we start that, we're also going to grab our tokens and hand them out like I said, and then I'm just going to have a look around and see where I actually want to position some of them. I have spotted one of the nitwits here, so if you could hold very still and I will make you a chef. There you go, Albert. Where is your companion? The girl was around here somewhere. I swear I just saw her. Nitwits are always so hard to find, especially when you have like a crazy chaotic village like Eriduene here, where they're all over the place and there's no real, there you are, rhyme or reason as to where they would be. So there you go, Rosalind, you are now the other chef. I think we have like 4 in total now. That's quite a lot, isn't it? Hopefully they'll make lots of good food. At the moment, all they really make is baked potatoes. As you can see, so many baked potatoes, especially when you put it into comparison of the golden carrots and pork chop, for example. There's just so many of them. They cannot make enough, apparently, can you? So I'm sure they'll go make some more. But anyway, let's talk about waterfalls now, shall we? So the main one that I've wanted to do for a long time is one on this mountain face here, and I really want this to just be a massive cascading waterfall starting off at the very top here, maybe hitting this ledge somewhere along the way and ending up into this pond down here, which is actually where our terraforming we did a few episodes ago leads to. And I'm thinking I may actually turn this into a river, because that's what it's meant to be. I think just the terrain hasn't generated that way. If I just look over, no, it's technically, yeah, see, that is a river biome. It's technically extreme hills throughout some of it, which is why there's no water in parts, but I think we're going to have to turn that into a river someday, because it just would look a lot better. So yeah, that's where the main waterfall we're going to be building today is going. All of the other ones are going to be a little bit smaller, I think. I think we could also do with having some in the background there. They don't have to be uber detailed, but it would be nice to see some water falling through this, what is basically a canyon, just off in the background. Maybe like one here and one very far back, I think would be cool. And the other one where I want to add in over on this side of the village is one that starts maybe around about here, and then turns a bit more into a stream and kind of flows through the middle here, and maybe we can build a bridge going over it and eventually ends up in the ocean. I think that one would be pretty cool. I definitely want to have one up next to the Skyforge. I'm thinking we blow open a cave around about there and then fill it with water, and then obviously it will overflow down the side of the mountain and into the ocean below. We've already got a natural waterfall around here on this side of the island, and I may add a couple of smaller ones in just like that. Maybe I'll spruce them up a little bit by adding in some texture variation with some cobble and andesite just to make it look a little bit weathered as opposed to the clean stone look. So I may add a few more of them in various spots where it looks like it could do with one. Possibly right here would be a good example. We've even got the stone right here. That's kind of as though it's washed away the dirt. That's like the perfect spot for it. Why is that stone? I don't know, but that's kind of cool. I think we'll definitely have to do one there. And we are going to start things off here by doing the largest waterfall of them all. The one that's going next to my base up at the top there, or the shrine on top of the mountain, whatever you want to call that thing. It's where all of my items are. So we're going to start up there and kind of weave our way down, placing various things. That's hopefully going to make it look pretty cool. I've got some fun ideas. I'm not really sure if they're going to work, but I definitely want to give them a go. You may have seen me during part of that time lapse struggling with the water a little bit. I kept placing blocks and sending the water massively off course and having to replace it all over again. It was really annoying, and that was during the process when I was adding in all of the texture behind the waterfall with the cobblestone, andesite and gravel. And it wasn't until I got to the very bottom, once all of it had virtually been placed in, when I realized I shouldn't have even done that in the first place. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense having the roughness and all of the texture on the sides through various rocks falling off of the waterfall and the water actually kind of crashing into the side every now and again. But when there's this continuous stream over rock, if we're being realistic about this, it would be super smooth, like as smooth as that. Because obviously all the water over the course of time is going to smooth out the rock behind it. So I shouldn't have even done that. I'm fairly certain I've made this mistake in the past when doing waterfalls, but I forgot once again. So I'm not going to actually break any of the blocks behind it because, well, I'm lazy. I'm just not going to do that for any other waterfalls we build today. So let's talk about this thing, shall we? Because it probably doesn't look like your average Minecraft waterfall, because we have this at the top, all of those things all the way down, and then this thing at the bottom. That's not what most people usually do, and basically that is inspired from B-Dubs, or B-00 from the Hermitcraft server, and on that server he made a magnificent and beautiful waterfall, much better than any of the ones we are going to be building today, but at the top and the bottom he had these glass blocks and glass panes to make it look like the mist that kind of rises up at the bottom of a waterfall, and also at the top we have substantially less at the top, obviously, because just the mass crashing going on at the bottom here is going to produce much more mist and water particles. I'm not sure, it might have an actual name, but I'm not sure what it is. But yeah, I just thought that was such a cool effect and I wanted to try and replicate it as best as I could. And I think I've done an okay job. I'm going to keep it. The only thing I'm not sure whether I'm going to keep are all of the glass panes going down. If you guys could let me know what you think about them. It's kind of meant to be like rogue water particles or the mist, I guess. That's kind of away from the actual waterfall. I'm not really sure. B-00 did it, and I liked how it looked. And yeah, I think I've done a pretty decent job here. So let me know what you guys think about that. But we talked about the texture. The only other thing which I do quite like is this rock protrusion out the side of the mountain. I didn't just want to have a flat waterfall going all the way down. I wanted something to kind of split it up a little bit. And the original plan was to just make it hit the side of the mountain there. But I thought, let's see if we can kind of split it in half. So that's what I've done, and it kind of rejoins down below. And I've done it so all of the rock here you can kind of see is placed to stop it actually overflowing to the side. Because as you saw during the time lapse, when I misplaced all of the water kind of cascaded down this side, which didn't look good at all in my opinion. I wanted it to go basically straight down and only ever so slightly expanding to the side to make it a bit larger here at the bottom compared to the top. But generally, overall, I think I've done a pretty good job. I do quite like this waterfall. It's probably going to be the best of all of them we build today, because I don't think I'm going to do this sort of thing on every single one. I only want to do it for the large one here. As you can see, I also turned this section into an actual river instead of whatever it was before, and I think it looks much better this way. We actually have this area of water connecting to the ocean out there, so all of the water from the waterfall is actually going somewhere. And one quick thing that I forgot to mention was up here at the top of the actual waterfall, I have turned it into a little bit of a cave. There's not a lot going on in here because it's virtually going to be invisible unless you actually decide to come up here, which won't happen very often. But anyway, I think what we're going to do now is see if we can get out of here, go to bed, and then I'm just going to work on all of the other waterfalls in the village here off camera. I may time-lapse a couple, but most likely not, as we're already like halfway through the episode here, and all we've really talked about is waterfalls. There's some other things I would like to do. Waterfalls have been placed down, and you may have seen a couple of them either being time-lapse or transformed. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do just yet, but I'm going to go around and show you each of them, starting off here with the bigger ones. So, I know I said I wasn't going to do any of this again, but this waterfall was so blatantly obvious and right at the front of the village from this overview, which is probably the best. It felt weird just having like a vanilla Minecraft waterfall going down there, so I've made it another proper custom one, and honestly, it might have turned out better than the one over there. I'm not really sure. I do quite like how it looks though. I think I did a bit better with the mist effect. And then the other larger one, oh, that's a lot of damage. There's a meme in that somewhere, isn't there? That's a lot of damage. Yeah, the farmer's okay, don't worry. If it's 20 damage, then we got a problem. 11 is fine. The other one is over here. Now, this is really only a waterfall up till this point. It kind of turns into a stream. And my thinking for this was, over the course of time, this little miniature canyon has got lower and lower because obviously the water has washed more and more stone further down. And yeah, I just think this looks quite cool. I'm thinking next episode we're going to build a bridge over this. I would do it today, but I'm just going to do it next episode because I got other things I want to do instead. But yeah, we'll have a bridge so it can actually be crossed over instead of struggling like our ranch is doing up there. But yeah, we have this and then kind of just jag it up the sides to make it look nice and rough. And yeah, I think this is quite cool. I'm very happy with how this one turned out actually. And the rest of them really are just smaller waterfalls that I haven't really done a whole lot with. This one, for example, is literally just a water source going all the way down. We have another one here where that stone was naturally generated next to the library. There is also one underneath the bridge here. I thought this was just a good spot since it's such a busy part of the village. It felt right to have a waterfall there. And I've done a little bit of terrain changes around here, but not too much. And then last but certainly not least, we have the two off in the distance here, which for the most part are just water sources placed down and they've flown down naturally. I think that's exactly what that one is right there. Had to do a little bit of modifying of the terrain surrounding this one because it was just cascading far too much, so I'm kind of enclosed it here but haven't added in any texture as I'm really not going to be around this area. You're only meant to see it from a distance here like you can behind me. I think that's enough waterfalls for today. I may add in some others when we do the mass terraforming around the entire village, but for now, that'll do, and you can kind of see them dotted around. I think it looks really cool having them in place. But let's focus on something other than waterfalls, shall we? So I have just got one building planned out for today's episode. It's actually going to be a fletcher's building, somewhere where the arrows would be crafted for our guards to have, which admittedly don't yield bows in TekTopia, but we pretend they do, hence why they have a firing range or shooting range. Archery range? I think that's the correct term. They have those hay bales to shoot with their imaginary bows, which of course need some imaginary arrows, which will be crafted in the Fletcher's building, which I have no idea where it's going to go. I've got it built up, but I don't know where I can fit it in. So there is the Fletcher's building, and while the shape of it itself doesn't necessarily scream something that would belong to a Fletcher, I do really quite like the shape of it actually, and it was sort of completely unintentional. It's kind of built on like a diagonal, and it's sort of symmetrical, like this side and this side are the same, and these two also repeat. That wasn't the plan when building this. So like I do with all my houses, I plan them first in a test world before copying them over here in survival mode in our actual TekTopia world. And usually what I do is I figure out the pillar points first of all and kind of plot out where all of those are going to be, and then I'll do the roof and kind of go through there. Basically, the order I built it in the time lapse is how I go about designing them usually. And I was kind of just going with the flow and seeing where this ended up, and then I ended up finishing it and realized I'd made this like perfectly symmetrical diagonal house that actually looks really kind of cool. So yeah, I was very happy with how that turned out. But like I said, don't really know whether it necessarily shouts Fletcher's house, but the main part that screams Fletcher, if anything, is this little area out here. So let's start out actually here before we head inside. So this is meant to be the thing that the arrows would get tested on. It's got like the target block texture here with the chiseled stone brick, whatever that thing is called. And the idea is, if the arrows are good enough to be passed on to the guards, they're gonna have to pierce through stone, you know? And if they were to fall out of there, no good, gotta be made again, put in the scrap. But yeah, that's kind of the idea here, instead of using hay bales or something like that, just so they can be thoroughly tested and make sure they are super sharp. So we got this kind of beam hanging it out, which I think just looks a little bit different and something that's pretty cool. So that's the outside area, and now I'm going to show you the inside, because honestly you probably didn't see that very well in the time lapse. There wasn't that great of a view, but this is actually going to become a two-person home here. As you can see, we're going to put the token out front in a little bit probably. But over here is like the workstation where they make bows. Now, there really isn't that much detail work you can do in TekTopia. We are obviously in 1.12, so I'm pretty limited, and if I place like certain things down, it messes up with the villager's pathfinding. So I've really just put the items used to make a bow in item frames, and that'll have to do. And similar thing over here with the creation of the arrows. So the villagers that are going to be living in here will actually come and like sit at the workstations, which I think should be pretty cool to see. But other than that, that's really all that's going on in here. Just the bedroom behind the doors to kind of shelter away from the actual work going on out here. But generally, I think it turned out as a pretty cool build. Hope you guys like it too. I think now I'm going to go grab my emeralds and buy that two-person home to stick right next to the door. Emeralds have been acquired. I had just about enough to actually purchase this thing, so let's go ahead and do that. Now, you may be wondering why I'm choosing to fill a cosmetic building with beds, and that's simply because I would like to have 100 villagers in Eriduin in total, and I think we still have about 8 more to go, somewhere around there. And we don't really have that much more room left to actually do buildings, so I'm kind of making the most of my space here for efficiency's sake, so we can actually fill them up. So yeah, admittedly, while it maybe wouldn't make sense to have beds inside of a place that is making arrows and bows, we're gonna do it anyway. So let's go place this down and make sure nothing has gone wrong with actually building this, and it counts as a two-person home. Just check the beds, that's always what I do, make sure they turn yellow to show that they are not currently occupied but can be occupied by some villagers when we do spawn them in, which we probably won't do today, but I would just like to check how many we actually have here, because like I said, I wasn't sure in the last clip, but total beds 92, so now we have 8 more remaining. We did have 10, but since we placed this down, only 8 more to go. Oh, you're very sad, Steve Wren, I'm sorry about that. So yeah, maybe next episode we can build a 6-person home possibly, and then maybe a 2-person home. That would solve the issue, or a 4 and a 4, or 4 2s. There's many ways to go about it. We're not ending off the episode just yet though. It may sound a bit like that. We're in F5 and I'm talking about what we're doing next time. No, there's still one more thing I'd like to do. I still have some time left to record this episode, and I'm going to utilize that by going to the end and doing some raiding. So I could use some more shulker boxes, because currently if I just turn around here and show you my valuables chest, these are all of the shulker boxes that I currently have that aren't in use and already filled up through various things. Take this one for example, filled with all of my glass stuff and my concrete powder, and yeah, I could use some more basically. I try not to use these because I'm running low, so having a few more shulker boxes is always handy. But the main reason I'm going is to actually get mending shovels. Diamond preferably would be better. And that's because sometime in the future I have an upcoming project which is going to require me to acquire 70,000 sand blocks. Now that's a lot of sand. That's about 40 shulker box full or 20 double chests. So imagine this column, this column, this column, this column, and this column are full of sand blocks. That's how much I need. So the more diamond shovels I can get, which have mending on, the easier a process it will be, and I will be very happy. So I'm going to go to the end, get some shulker boxes, maybe get some spare elytra and all of the other good loot, but hopefully I return with many a shovel. Around about 2.5 hours later, and I have returned with plentiful amount of loot along here. So let me show you what I got. Starting off with the worst of everything I picked up, I basically grabbed every single tool and armor piece that I could see, including iron. So I'm not going to use any of this, but I may just give it to my villagers at some point. Whether we shove it here in Eriduine or maybe save it for the next village, I'm not really sure. You guys can let me know what you think I should do with all of this stuff, because there is a lot, and I can pretty much guarantee you I'm not going to use it myself. But along this here, in this box, we have the slightly better diamond gear. None of this has mending on, it's just regular old diamond enchantments. And it's some decent stuff. A couple of pieces I may keep for myself, like the tools probably. But the armor pieces I may give to my villagers or just keep it for decorative use. I'm not really sure, but still, it's pretty decent stuff. And then the good box on the end here. Inside we have some not so good stuff actually. I don't really know why the horse armor is in here, or the iron and the gold. It just didn't really fit with the rest, so yeah, I've chucked it in here too. But we got some good amount of diamonds and some emeralds, which is always helpful in TekTopia. 3 dragon heads, 3 elytra, all of these shulker shells, as well as the 4 holding all of these items, so that is plenty for now. And then finally we have the really good stuff, some diamond leggings with mending on, some diamond chestplate with mending on as well, which is actually really good because this is my diamond chestplate that I use sometimes for when I need, you know, that extra bit of protection, and it would be nice to have something with mending on, so I'll definitely combine those two at some point or another. And then we have a mending sword, mending pickaxes, which are always welcome. I could always use more of them. And then 3 mending shovels. Now, I was really hoping to get a few more than 3, but that was the most tool, or like I got more shovels and pickaxes basically, so I can't really complain. I will make them a little bit better though, you know, put efficiency on and unbreaking and that sort of thing, so I don't end up going through them super quick, and they can dig sand nice and fast. I will probably also go on another end raid at some point before that big project, just to get a few more shovels, because 4 really isn't a lot. I would like a couple more. So that is where we're going to have to call it for today's episode, everybody. We are on top of Nessie's head here in the middle of the ocean because she gives a great vantage point to the entire village, or at least a semi-decent one where we can see a lot of the waterfalls that we built today. And I really hope you guys did like them and that you enjoyed the entire episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.